So hello everyone, good evening once again. Sleepy? Bored? Okay, thank you for being kind. I was not expecting actually so much crowd in the evening session, but still I am overwhelmed. Thank you so much. So a little bit about me. My name is Vivek. I work for EPAM Systems. I work as software architect. I have 12 plus years of experience in Python, backend, other open source technologies. I design and develop backend. Also, I'm a learner. I have been attending PyCon from last almost 7 or 8 years, and this is my continuous third year being a speaker. So that's about me. Thank you. Okay. So I want to keep it very interactive. That's why I have a lot of questions for you guys because it's related to interview. So I will be taking interview here as well. Just show of hands is enough. So how many of you are not selected after a good performance in an interview? Okay. How many of you think that coding interviews measure real-world skills? This time hands have gone very less. Um, most interviewers ask irrelevant questions. Trust me, this is I want to change the perspective for this answer. Okay. How many of you have interviewed others? So I see the same hands who were saying they were asking relevant questions. Okay, anyway. So that's one of the pitfall you fell into. Okay, so what to expect from this talk? I'll share my observations. I'll share some stats that I have collected over the interviews that I have done. I'll share some common pitfalls on various topics. We'll see. I'll also talk about some patterns that I have observed in the candidates and some tips and takeaways. Without takeaway, I don't want to waste 30 minutes of your time. What this is not, it's not a cheat sheet to clear any interview. It's not, I'm not going to judge anyone, or I'm not going to pass any judgment on any candidate or anyone. Also, I'll not be talking about any DS, Algo, Gen AI, and those kind of stuff. We'll keep it light and simple. So are we good? Okay, story time. So what you see here on the screen are actual feedback that I have got from the candidates for taking their interviews. So as you can see, all are good feedback. So I was very happy. And I maintained a good rating over the years and all. So I was very happy. But one fine day, one gentleman gave me a very nice feedback. To sum it up, he said I asked irrelevant questions. I did not follow some standards as per him maybe, or I did not measure, or I did not interview him based on the position availability or whatever the position was asking. And that got me, and that raised some questions in my mind. Like, am I doing something wrong? Am I asking wrong questions? Are there other candidates who are not being open enough or who are not sharing their feedback with me? Something is wrong maybe, I don't know. By the way, I ended up selecting that guy. So that one feedback and that chain of questions that came to my mind was the reason that I am standing here in front of you today. So thank you to that guy. Okay, some stats. So mostly I take because of light. Okay, maybe still you can see the numbers. So mostly I take interviews in between 3 to 7 years, mostly 65%, 20% for other senior roles like tech leads, team leads and all, 5% freshers and all, and around 10% for other 10 plus years experience guys like architects and all. So that's my distribution of interviews. Candidate distribution, some images are there which is again not visible, I'm not sure why. But anyway, so selection ratio is around 29%, or 70% is rejection, you can say. And that's not a very good number, right? So I wanted to tell why is that number, or why I have this number, and I'm sure most of you would be falling around on the similar number if you are taking interviews. Okay, so first thing, decorators. What I'll do is, I'll try to share some, 2 or 3 very common topics that everyone can relate to. And with that, I'll try to expand the horizon to bigger, scenario or bigger topics. Decorators, is there anyone who doesn't know what is a decorator? Anyone? Okay, no hands. So I assume, I hope everyone knows decorator. If not, please come to me later. I'll be happy to teach. But anyway, despite everyone knowing it, only 25% of the candidates were able to correctly write a decorator. Why is that? Only 10% of the candidates were, able to write decorator with argument, which is just another layer of or another function closure. Only 5% know how to use wraps from functools module. 95% were unable to use decorator without @ operator. I mean, how hard it is. It's just a method, so why can't you call it as a normal method? Some common pitfalls, I don't know if the code is really visible or not. One of the most common pitfall is missing the arguments in the wrapper method, missing the function return. So obviously it will return none, and it will mess up the output. Or calling the wrapper. What happens if you call a method? It returns a value, not the method object. And 95% have no idea about class-based decorators. Okay? Now the pattern. When I'm asking about or when I'm talking about decorator, what really I'm looking for? I don't want to know if you can write a decorator or not. My intention is something else. My intention is, do you know how method work? Can you treat methods as an object? Do you know how function closure works? Do you know how or what's the use of wraps? Why it is needed? Because decorator will work without it also. So why it's needed? Do you know such things? That's my intention to know. So even if you write correct decorator code and you cannot tell me the answer to these questions, it's not useful for me. I'll take another 2 topics then I'll expand the horizon. So we talked about decorators, now let's talk about generators, another very common topic. Anyone who doesn't know generator? Okay. Stats tell me something else. 15% of the candidate could not, even senior candidates, 6, 7, 8, 9 years experience guys, they could not correctly iterate over a generator using plain simple next method or iter method. Only 10% were able to implement a class-based generator using iter or next dunda methods. And only 30% of the candidate knew that we can have multiple yield statements in a generator. Mostly just put only one yield statement. And now another surprise, 99% were unable to tell the usage of send with generator. Anyone know what's the use of send with generator? One person knows, so my data is correct. Okay, pitfalls, very common pitfalls. Creating generator object inside next. I mean, why? Calling next on the method object. What is mygen? Mygen is a method object, not a generator object. And you are calling next on the method object itself. Or calling the dunda next on the method object. Method does not have dunda next as an attribute, right? So of course it will give you attribute error. Or calling the same way, like instead of dunda next, you're calling direct next. Or using iter over mygen. Why? I mean, again, you just do this. It will create the generator object. But anyway, so these are some of the common pitfalls again. And these are very fundamentals or very basic topics. I'll cover one more basic topic, and then we'll see other things. So what I'm looking for? I'm looking for, does the yield, do you know how yield works properly? Or do you know the correct use of iter or next? Do you know, or can you differentiate between generator object and function object? Okay, so this is my third general topic. Oops, or object-oriented programming. Only 25% of the candidates in my experience were able to implement dunda methods other than init, str, and repr. If I talk about, let's say, some other common methods like new or call or entry, exit, So many. They were having no idea. Abstract classes and its usage, or the capacity to relate that interface segregation is related to abstract classes in Python. Solid principles. Most of the people don't know solid principles, or if they know, they don't know more than the definition. If it comes to implementation, maybe S and O, but most of the candidates, they mess up a list of substitution and interface segregation and dependency inversion. So theory or definition, if you are telling me what is abstraction, what is abstract class, what is solid principle, it's useless to me. What will I do with the theory? Unless you can implement it in practical scenarios. So practicality is more important. Know why and when instead of knowing what. So other common pitfalls. How many of you believe this is true? No one will raise hand now, I know. Okay, this is not true. Though it is written over many blogs, many YouTube channels, many people say that this is true, but this is not. New is the constructor. What's the constructor job? To create an object. Init does not create the object. Only abstract class is abstraction. Again, no. Abstraction can be at different levels in different types. We can have abstraction with normal classes also, with methods also, with modules also. No idea about like this. I already told about other random methods like new, call, enter, exit, get item, contains, and there are so many. Class-based decor. So again, same thing. Meta classes, most mysterious thing. Those who work in Django, they know there is something called as meta class which they use. More than that, I have never heard a good answer or a better answer, or someone who can really tell me why meta class or why do we need meta class. Self for CLS is a keyword, though it is very less candidate tell that, but again it's a very basic pitfall. Another is slots. How many of you know slots? Few people. So yeah, another mystery for candidates. I don't know. Okay, so pattern. What I'm looking for actually? I'm not looking for book definition. I'm looking for, can you customize classes? Do you know how do I change my class behavior? Can I make it iterable? Can I make it callable? Object-oriented design, basically following solid principles, following proper relation, is a relation, has a relation, and all that. When to use what? Most important. It's not like every time I create a class, I'll create abstract classes and some meta classes and all that. No, it depends on use case. And understanding library code. So if you open any library code, be it Fast API, Pydantic, GenAI libraries, any library, all of them use meta classes, some type annotations, abstract classes, and all that. So unless you will understand that code, how can you efficiently implement it? And suppose if there is any issue or bug or any open issue, if you know the fundamentals, maybe it will be easy for all of you to make some open source contributions as well. Understanding the intention, that's why I'm standing here. When you raise the hand that most interviewers ask wrong question, there is always an intention behind it. When I'm asking which Python version did you work with, I don't want to know the number, whether it is 3.8 or 3.10 or 3.12. I want to know, do you know the new implementations or newer things which has happened in the new version? Do you know what optimizations are made in the new version? Do you know what methods or functionalities are deprecated? Another intention. When I ask about, I already spoke about it. So when I ask about render method, basically I'm looking for, can you optimize or can you, customize the class behavior? When I'm asking, or when anyone is asking how set or dictionary work, okay, I'm not interested in really how set or dictionary work. Mainly I'm interested in, do you know how mutability or immutability works internally? Do you know what is the role of memory in there? Do you know how hash or EQ is relevant to it? Or can you create a frozen list, just like frozen set? So again, I don't want to know whether you can really create it, but my intention is, do you know how immutability works, how mutability works? Other basic pitfalls, so those were my 3 topics: object-oriented programming, generator, and decorator, so that you can relate to it and you can understand the intention. Now I'll talk in broader sense. Zen of Python. How many of you know Zen of Python? Few people, that's good. This is, again, something that everyone should know. It gives a philosophy, like how we should actually code in Python. 19 statements by Tim Peters. Packing or unpacking. star, double star. We use it only for quarks or arcs, right? But again, not true, not the full story. It's being used at other places as well. Import, many people don't know what is the use of init.py. Why do we need underscore underscore all? Without underscore underscore all also, you can still import whatever you want, but then why do we need it? Scope, leaks, global, local, you know, all that. Is versus equal to, very common maybe. Else, else is not just for if else. There is for else, there is while else, there is try except else. Async. So when I ask anyone like why do we need async when we already have multi-threading? Both does the same thing, right? Both are single-threaded, both run one after the other. On one end we have GIL, on the other end we have what is that, event loop. Then why do we need it? Blocking code, what is blocking code? If you just write async, 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 and just call await, await, it doesn't guarantee that it will be running in async. If you have blocking code in between, then it's synchronous. Other areas. So we just talk about Python. Now I'll elaborate to other areas. Let's say when I'm talking about web application, because that's my domain. So when I'm talking about framework, I want to know, did you use any specific feature? For example, say fast API. Do you know what is dependency injection? Do you know internal middlewares? Do you know different types of responses which are there? Do you know different response codes? Yesterday also, in my workshop, I told that I have seen production code where even for error, the response code was 200, and in the response body, error, some error. So anyway, testing, unit testing, functional testing, load testing, pen testing. There are hundreds of types of testing. Okay, you don't have to know everything, but it is developers' responsibility to implement unit testing. PyTest, unit test, mocking, monkey patching, all of that things cover this broad topic. Rationale, why and how. Why is SQL database? Why not NoSQL? Why MariaDB? Why not, say, Postgres? Why Cassandra? Why not MongoDB? All these questions. You should know why you are choosing something. Why Redis? Why not Memcache? REST. What is RESTful? What is restless? What is idempotency? What is stateful? Stateless? Black box. Validation. Most of the candidates, they only talk about request validation, and when they say request, it is only body or the request body validation or JSON validation. What about headers, query parameters, path parameters, cookies? There are so many other components to request, right? Then patterns in the code. That was my topic for yesterday. Many architectural pattern, design principles. OAuth, again, I don't want to talk about it. Other areas, AI. Everyone, everywhere, Gen AI everywhere. Many people cannot tell me the difference between Gen AI versus AI versus ML. Tool over framework. Everyone using LangChain, Pydantic AI, LangGraph, this, that, blah, blah, NET, and whatever. What's the fundamental behind that? Prompt technology, brittle prompts, one-line prompts, few-shot prompting. MCP. How many of you can explain me what is an MCP? Few hands. So it's not a magic black box, okay? So what I'm trying to say with all of these things is that, the interviewer is trying to ask you something more fundamental. The interviewer's intention is to know how deep you can go. Do you have that rationale? Do you know why? Do you know how? Do you know when? What is less important? Okay. So do you think the topics that I told or the questions that I was mentioning, those were irrelevant questions? How many of you think that it is still irrelevant question? Suddenly the hands have gone, okay, we'll discuss. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Can you write efficient code without understanding fundamentals? Can you? Yes? Okay. Do you agree that fundamentals must be strong to learn new skills? Okay. Now pain points, interviewer's pain point. Inconsistent preparation level. So you're coming to an interview, but you're not prepared enough. Balancing depth versus breadth. We get like 1 hour, 1.5 hours. It's very hard to judge someone, or it's very hard to, touch all the aspects of a candidate, of the technical abilities, leadership abilities, or basically their ownership, or whether they can take ownership or not, things like that. It's very hard. Inflated resumes. 1 year experience guy, knows 5 languages, 10 frameworks, 100 databases, expert in Gen AI, expert in backend, expert in data engineering, expert in front end. I don't know that much even after 12 years. Long-term potential. So I don't know the candidate, first of all, whether the candidate would join or not. If they join also, how long they will stay. Because behind every joining the company, any company, they also make an investment. They do training. If they are deployed on a client project, there is another thing which is at stake, right? So we have to also check for those things. Using unfair means, very common nowadays. Putting a mobile phone on another laptop, or maybe someone behind prompting and all. But trust me, we know all the techniques more than you guys. Because you are using one technique, we have seen 10 techniques. So it's very, very easy to identify who is using unfair means. And though we still respect, we don't tell or we don't say that you are using unfair means, so we don't point fingers, but we silently reject. And then you wonder, like, I give all right answer, then why I got rejected? Problem-solving mindset. You know binary search, you know merge sort, you know all basic or algorithms, data structure, all lead code, 300 problems, everything is fine. But those you have practiced, and that does not tell me whether you can actually solve a real-world problem or not. Memorization, like I said before, telling me definitions. No, I'm not interested in definition. Tell me where I can use it. Being precise or concise, very hard again. Candidates do not stop for 3, 4, 5 minutes continuously. We have to interrupt them. Or if I'm asking what is X, they will tie a rope around X and tell me X, Y, Z, A, B, C, everything. So then we have to interrupt them. And some consider interrupting as, disrespecting, which is not true. So takeaway points. Right mindset trumps right answer. It's okay if you give wrong answer. That's completely fine. It's okay if you make syntax mistakes in your interview code. That's completely fine. What I'm looking for, do you have learning capacity? Do you have that problem-solving mindset? Even if you cannot reach to right answer or right solution, that's still fine. But are you putting your brain? Are you giving me clues? Are you discussing with me that I can take option A, but option A has A, B, C disadvantage. I can take option B, which has some other disadvantages. So are you weighing all the pros and cons? Understanding the intention, like I said, what interview is trying to ask. If I'm asking version, don't tell me the version number. Tell me the features of that version. Practicality over theory, we have discussed it. Fundamentals are most important. Master at least one craft. So like I said, everyone, data engineering, also expert, they're expert in backend, frontend, Gen AI, ML, DevOps, everything, which is humanly impossible. Master one craft. And then you expand your horizon. So be a master of one, and then become a jack of all trades. And this I mentioned earlier, that interrupting is not disrespecting. Accept and improve. AI tools during interview. This might be a little controversial, but I want to speak. So the image here is a Tesla autopilot car. And you see the driver behind. He's not handling the steering, but still able to drive because autopilot is doing everything. But still, the driver who's sitting behind, he knows, or he or she knows the driving. That's why he or she is sitting behind, and autopilot is doing the job. But what's happening nowadays is, autopilot is doing everything on its own, and though the driver is supposed to be on the wheel, sitting somewhere else, then you are not a driver basically. So if you are sitting in a Waymo, that's a Waymo, then you are not you are a passenger, you are not a driver, and that's what is happening with the AI tools nowadays. So unless you understand the code, unless you understand fundamental, how would you know the code generated is correct or not, whether it will fill the use case or not? I do not have time. I have some funny stories of interviews, multiple stories. Please connect with me after this talk. I'll be happy to share. So conclusion, we saw some stats, some distribution, some surprising observation. We saw some common pitfalls in various topics. Um, I hope I was able to explain the intention or the, the other side of the table. Correct answer is not everything that we discussed, importance of fundamentals. And I hope with this you might have got some new perspective. Okay, so whatever I have spoken today, some of you might agree, some of you might not agree. That's completely fine. That's why we are all here. We are here to share our ideas. We are here to discuss with each other and learn from each other. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. And it was pleasure having all of you. I still have, I think, 2 or 3 minutes, so I can take few questions, and I'll be outside. Thank you. We will talk outside because I do not have time. I have to respect the time also. Okay, so I can tell you one funny story. There was one guy in my previous company who came for interview, and he mentioned one project, exact description of my project in which I was working, exact same name of the product, and I was 100% sure that other than my team, no other team is working on that product in the entire world. People copy, projects from other resumes also. So that's one of the funny story. I can elaborate on that. I have more funny stories. Yes, please.
So I want you to elaborate more on that unfair means. So what I find is there is a kind of contradiction. Interviewers during interview do not want candidates to use AI.
Agreed.
But once they get hired, there is a push from organizations to use AI. Why this contradiction?
That's why I included that slide where you are driving a Tesla and a Waymo. When you are
Unfair means basically. Kind of it was unfair means to use AI before, so how it is fair to use after.
agreed, it is unfair to use before because interviewer is trying to, gauge how much you know, your skill. Can you solve a problem? Can you understand the code? Can you write the code? That's why it is unfair there. But when you are working in a project, I know that, okay, you already have that skill. So whatever AI is giving you, you will not blindly copy paste. You will understand it. You will first go through it. You might also edit it. You will optimize it and then you will use it. Whereas if I let you use that unfair means, then you will be doing the same thing that you will be doing in the interview. In the actual production code also, you will be copying and pasting the code. And you might be also, breaching the agreement. You might be putting your code into open public models. Sorry.
Not a question, but just to give you a metaphor, are you allowed to use a driverless car to get your driver's permit?
Exactly. That's what Waymo is. Yeah, we can see. That's why I said we can agree or disagree, and that's why we are here to discuss. We can learn from each other. I am open for any suggestion, feedback, or extend the discussion. Yes.
Did you selected that license for this talk?
COC team gave me.
Hey, one more question.
Yeah.
So I agree whatever you say. I'm able to relate it as well. One thing is like I recently saw a post saying we are hiring, even if you are vibe coding, I'm fine with that. After the project is submitted, either it ghosted or it's like no feedback from the system. They said vibe coding is fine for us. They conduct an interview, but no other no call from that. So what is the take on that?
Okay, see, I cannot comment on how every company work, but most probably they might have got another candidate, another possibility the position might have been closed, they might have lost the client which they might be expecting. All of that could be the reason. But of course, every company has their own principles and all. I can really comment on that. What I can say is in my organization, we don't do that. Good, bad, whatever it is, we provide the feedback and we also take the feedback. That's how I started this.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. Please.
Yeah, we can meet outside.
Please connect
and
with
funny
him
stories, I
outside.
have my own rejection stories as well.
Yeah. Please connect with him in offstage. Thank you.